Hello everybody, Heather here from a very, very cold and very dark, dreich, rainy northeast of Scotland today. I thought I'd just come on and say that I have survived my COVID and flu vaccines. I was totally out of the game last night and literally was in my bed, I think, by 6 o'clock last night. Although, as usual, I wasn't sleeping till about 2:30 this morning. Anyway, I just wanted to come on and say that I have survived. A big shout out to people who comment on my videos, especially Claire. Thank you very much for all your wonderful comments. Yesterday, when I went to go to the clinic to get my vaccine shots, and I was sort of taken aback. I had actually gone a bit earlier, but in the past, what they've done is they've just taken you as you've come in. But no, they were sticking to time, so I had to sit for half an hour before I got taken through. So as you can imagine, sitting for half an hour, you're very stiff. Anyway, I was taken through, but I was amazed by one of the comments that I had from the person that was doing my vaccines. And excuse me, it's so cold, I've got my tea. One of the comments that she said to me, because she asked me how long I'd had rheumatoid arthritis, and of course, because the drug that I'm on has only been out, I've been on it 18 months, and I think it actually was physically licensed 19 months ago. So not a lot of people have heard of the drug. Anyway, I was amazed that she turned around because she asked me how long I'd had rheumatoid arthritis. And I had replied saying that I'd had it for over 20 years. And she said, "Oh," she says, "you don't look as bad as I thought you would." And she said, most people with rheumatoid arthritis have really, they're all deformed. And I thought, what a thing to say to somebody with rheumatoid arthritis. It's thanks to the wonderful invention of new drugs all the time is the reason that we're not all deformed, But that doesn't mean to say that we're not ill. We have good days and bad days, and we know which days our joints are hurting. But it also put me in mind, I'm going to have a wee reminisce here now. And I have mentioned before that my maternal grandfather, my Granda Stewart, James Stewart as he was, he had rheumatoid arthritis. And it was also in his family that his father had rheumatoid arthritis. And I always remember my mum saying to me that my granda used to take his dad to the cinema. Now, considering my granda, well, I'm not sure the year he was born. I know he died in 1971, but given that my grandmum was born in 1905, I reckon he must have been born somewhere maybe slightly earlier than her. So just to give you some sort of idea of the time scale that we're talking about. And my mum had been born in 1934. So when they talk about, she said that her dad used to take his dad to the pictures twice a week and take him out. So to me, that, because of his rheumatoid arthritis, that he was doing stuff for him. And because I was too young to actually have those conversations with my granda, so I'll never know. I think I was only 6 when he died. But my everlasting memories, and my grandma used to move house quite a bit, obviously, with my granda as things were getting worse. And a lot of the time they were in like what we would class as a pensioner's cottage. Excuse me while I have a mouthful of tea. And I remember that it used to have, the hanging um, alarms, that if he got into difficulty, he could pull the alarm and a light would flash and um, outside the house so that people would know that they would come in to his aid. Anyway, my grandfather, from what I remember, he had very, very restricted mobility. He used to walk with two crutches, um, and he had to be pulled up off of the chair. Now, I have said this before, I'm sure, I'm so thankful that we've got, electric chairs that we can recline so that we're much more comfortable. And back in those days, they didn't have that. And of course, chairs were really difficult to get in and out of. And the only chair that I ever can remember my grandfather sitting on was a big piano stool. You know, the ones that you used to lift up the lid and there would be all the music would be underneath. So it was a great big stool, and it had a red cover, and that's where he used to sit, and he'd be propped up by the window, I suppose, so because there was no back to that chair, and he would be propped up, leaning against the window, so he could see out, or leaning against a wall. But it must have been so uncomfortable for him. And occasionally, to get a bit of fresh air, he would be taken out to the veranda in the front of the house, and the chair would be positioned there so he could sit, but he'd be all happy up, as we would say up here, happy up, and he would have a bonnet, a flat cap bonnet, and he would have his big jacket on so that he wasn't getting cold. And I think in the end that was, we talk about how susceptible we are. And I'm sure I've said that, according to my mum, the only drug that my granddad was on was sulfasalazine, which I was kind of shocked at, that it's been going for so long, because I hadn't realised, when I went on sulfasalazine, that was the same thing that he was on. But it must have been so hard, but I never heard that man complain. The nurses used to come in, and he had a hoist on his bath. So they would come in once a week to give him a bath. And apart from that, he was always clean shaven, that my grandmother would shave him and she would look after him. And obviously although I'd never seen it, I can't remember that bits, but she obviously helped him dress and got him into his bed, So that's why I say that she was, an amazing woman to actually do all that for him and look after him. And but I always remember him as a happy man. In fact, one of my everlasting memories is that when we used to go in, because on a Friday, my mum used to get her hair done. And my grandparents lived in a little village called New Deer. And on a Friday, my mum would be going to the hairdressers in New Deer. So before, and this I must have been, because I wasn't 5, because I certainly wasn't at school, I would be taken to New Deer and stay with my grandparents while my mum got her hair done. And then she would come back and pick me up. But I always remember, one of the things that I remember is he was always singing songs. And there is that wee nursery rhyme, I don't know if you know it, about, I don't even know how it starts, but the only bit that I can remember is, fly away Peter, fly away Paul, come back Peter, come back Paul. So if you remember the rest, let me know. But he was a happy man, and he loved seeing his grandchildren and things. And as I've said, it was 1971 when he died, and he was only in his 60s. He wasn't old at all. I remember that he'd been taken into hospital, and I went with my grandmother to see him in the hospital, and there was word that he was getting home. But he was being, now it was January that he was in the hospital, and he was going to be taken home by ambulance, but they would be dropping off other people. I suppose it's that vans that we have, that you see now, you know, where they're doing the transportation. But it is very, very cold, and I think it was the beginning of either the end of January or the beginning of February when he was getting home. And of course, being in the van all that hours while they were transporting other people, he unfortunately he caught a cold, and it went into pneumonia, and in the end that's how he died. But when you think there's been so many things that have changed since then for us with you know, the drugs, and I know that we can still be susceptible to pneumonia even now. I did actually get them to check yesterday when I had my pneumonia shot, and it turns out it was 2019, because I had talked to the biologics nurse, and she'd been saying, oh, you might need your booster. But I believe that it's every 5 years before we need for those that are immunocompromised. Okay, people, I hope you found that interesting, and I'll do a bit more reminiscing about my life so you know exactly what happened. And anybody that knows the rest of Come Back Peter, Come Back Paul, I'd love to hear from you. Please like, share, subscribe if you haven't done so, and help the channel to grow. And I'll be back with you soon, hoping that you're all well, and please continue to comment because I love to receive your comments. Thank you for now. Bye.